The emotional atmosphere at BTS's Jin concert changed in seconds after a group of ARMY shouted Bang Si-Hyuk's name in the middle of the stage performance. The unexpected moment immediately triggered a reaction from Jin, who was seen stopping his movements for a moment, looking at the sound coming from below the stage, and showing an expression of surprise that was clearly recorded in various fan camera footage. What exactly is going on behind the cheers? Why did CEO HYBE's name suddenly resonate during a stage moment that was supposed to be fully focused on Jin? This event occurred during one of the main segments in Jin's first post-draft appearance. Amid the musical accompaniment and long applause, the atmosphere was suddenly broken by loud cheers. Bang Si-Hyuk, followed by repeated cheers that echoed several times. Jin, who was greeting fans, seemed to stop his words. He paused for a moment, looked at the crowd, then smiled stiffly before continuing the interaction. The reaction footage is now widespread on online community platforms and continues to spark public discussion. The most pressing question of these events is not just about who shouted Bang PD's name, but why it was cheered in the context of Jin's appearance. Is that a form of support for Bang Si-Hyuk's presence at the location? Or is it a form of protest or satire against the dynamics involving Jin and HYBE's management? Some fans believe the cheers are directly related to Bang Si-Hyuk's reported presence in the backstage area. Although not officially announced, pieces of photos and videos circulating show the figure of a large man in a black shirt who is said to be Bang Si-Hyuk. If true, it would be the rare appearance of a CEO who usually never appears in person at an artist's individual concerts. But on the other hand, a number of parties considered the cheers as a form of satire. They considered that Jin, during this time, did not get a commensurate portion of promotions from HYBE's management, both before and after serving in the army. Some armies even said that Bang Si-Hyuk's appearance after Jin's appearance only happened after Jin's name received overwhelming support and sympathy from the international public. Thus, the cheering Bang Si-Hyuk can be interpreted as pressure from fans to the company leadership to be more serious about supporting Jin's solo career and the world of K-pop. The actions and expressions of artists on stage are very measured. So Jin's sudden, halting reaction upon hearing Bang Si-Hyuk's name couldn't be considered an ordinary response. He did not respond verbally, but the look in his eyes and the awkward smile were enough to create a public interpretation. Many fans argued that Jin seemed unprepared for the name being cheered in a moment that should have been his own. Some analysts of the Korean entertainment industry consider that this incident is a reflection of the underground tensions that have long been talked about. A number of rumors said that Jin and HYBE's management relationship was not always in harmony, especially regarding individual promotion policies that were considered unbalanced. Although there has been no official statement, the fact that Jin is the only BTS member not to release a major solo project post-enlistment has been a highlight. Furthermore, this event also shows that ARMY, as BTS's global fanbase, now acts not only as a passive supporter, but also as a critical observer who actively voices opinions against management. It's a form of social control rarely found on the scale of other fandoms. ARMY demands transparency, fairness, and recognition of each member's contributions, including Jin, who has been touted as a pillar of silence. Within BTS, HYBE herself has not yet issued an official response regarding Bang Si-Hyuk's presence or the events that occurred at the concert. However, this silence only reinforces the suspicion that there is an internal tension that is being tightly closed. Because if not, a quick clarification is usually issued to dampen public speculation, as often happens in previous cases involving BTS. Interestingly, this moment of cheering happened just before Jin closed the stage with his emotional song. Some viewers noted that Jin's performance seemed to have changed slightly after the incident, not in technical aspects, but expressively. He remains professional, but seems more careful in managing eye contact and interaction with the audience. This led to suggestions that Jin was quite disturbed or at least surprised by the situation. One thing is certain. This incident has opened up new conversations around Jin's position in HYBE's management structure. Will the cheers trigger a real change in Jin's promotional direction going forward? Is Bang Si-Hyuk's presence a sign of the start of a big project that fans have been waiting for a long time? The ARMY is now in a position not only to witness, but also to press for change. They show that support for artists is expressed not only through merchandise and streaming, but also through a loud voice and an active public. And the cheering of Bang Si-Hyuk's name is not just a distraction in the concert, but a loud signal that cannot be ignored. As an audience member who witnessed Jin's transformation from BTS member to now performing as a solo artist full of confidence, the public has a right to know where his career will take him. However, one thing remains to be maintained, that the main spotlight remains on Jin and his contribution, not on the management role that has so far only emerged when public pressure is inevitable for ARMY and all music lovers who continue to follow BTS's Jin journey. Don't forget to continue to support in the most constructive way. And for those of you who want to keep getting the latest, accurate, and reliable news about Jin and BTS, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any important updates from the fast-moving K-pop world. Do you believe that the cheers were a subtle form of ARMY resistance against the system? Or is it just part of a spontaneous expression that should not be interpreted too far? What do you think? The band's Si-Hyuk cheer that appeared in the middle of Jin's performance was not just a matter of sound. It's a collective expression born of long pent-up tensions between fandom, artists, and management. In the tightly regulated world of K-pop, every little detail on stage can be a symbol of the intricate power dynamics behind the scenes. The moment became especially important not because Jin lost control. On the contrary, he nevertheless showed a high level of professionalism. But the reaction of his body, the sudden change in facial expressions, and the apparent unpreparedness in front of thousands of spectators have opened up layers of feelings that may never have been truly revealed by Jin himself. The reaction was very human, but in the context of the all-calculating Korean entertainment industry, such human things actually become very rare and, ironically, very meaningful in terms of strategic communication. It cannot be ignored that HYBE has tended to be selective in treating public narratives related to their artists. In the Jin context, much of the post-military promotion was done cautiously, and many armies felt the measures were too conservative compared to their true potential. Thus, the appearance of Bang Si-Hyuk's name in the middle of the crucial moment of Jin's stage is a kind of reflection of the symbolic resistance that can only be understood by those who have really followed the dynamics of BTS for years. It should also be noted that during Jin's military service, not a few fans were worried that his position would be shifted in the internal structure of BTS and HYBE more broadly. This concern cannot be separated from the emergence of other members' solo projects that have received huge promotional support, both visually, music production, and media exposure. When Jin finally returned, expectations for him were high. But it was precisely in the early moments of his return to the stage that the question of real support from the company again arose. This incident also shows that the ARMY is no longer in a completely loyal position without question. They demand transparency, equality, and recognition of each member's contributions, no matter how commercial they are considered by management. Jin may be known for his calm and humorous personality, but in the eyes of many fans, he is precisely the representation of constancy, maturity, and true loyalty to BTS. So it is natural that the inequality of promotion towards Jin is a sensitive point that easily triggers an emotional response from the ARMY. One thing worth looking at is how HYBE will respond to this public reaction. In the history of the K-pop industry, there are not many cases where the name of the CEO of the company is shouted, let alone in the middle of a concert. This is not an ordinary form of praise. but rather a form of public intervention into power structures. If not responded to wisely and openly, these cheers could be the beginning of a broader crisis of confidence in the direction of company policy, especially regarding BTS's solo career going forward. On the other hand, Jin's reaction, though brief and full of control, shows that he is aware of the dynamics. His slightly stiff face when he heard Bang Si-Hyuk's name could have been due not to discomfort towards the figure personally, but rather to understanding the huge implications that came with the voice. Jin knew that in one small moment, the balance between himself, the fans, and the management was openly at stake. Now, the hot ball is in HYBE's hands. The public and the army are waiting. Will the company read this cheer as a form of support for Jin and make it a momentum to improve individual promotion strategies? Or is it just letting it become a momentary controversy that passes without concrete treatment? One thing that can't be overlooked is the fact that Jin has proven that he has incredibly strong stage appeal, fan-base strength, and artistic credibility, without much visualization support or massive campaigning. This is precisely the time for HYBE to give equal recognition and not make it just a symbol of BTS's internal loyalty. And for ARMY, this moment is not just about a concert or one cheer. It is a symbol that their voice retains compressive power and influence. Support for Jin is not only a matter of love for idols, but also a form of resistance to inequality that is felt to be unfair. They defended the genie's right to shine and demanded that her contribution no longer be considered silent among other sparkles. For those of you who want to keep abreast of BTS's Jin exclusively, from the stage to the internal dynamics of the K-pop industry, don't forget to subscribe now. Support honest, sharp, and reliable information. Together, we keep the ARMY's voice loud, not just at concerts, but in the media. Will the cheers change the direction of Jin's promotion? Or just open a new chapter in the relationship of fandom and company? Time will tell. But that day, one name that should have been behind the scenes took center stage. And it's no coincidence. But in the midst of the intense spotlight on this now viral moment, one fundamental question is worth asking. Did Bang Si-Hyuk's name cheering event in the middle of BTS's Jin performance really happen as reported? Or is this just a narrative reconstruction formed for the benefit of virality and media consumption? In an era where 10 seconds of video content on TikTok can influence public opinion globally, we can no longer distinguish between factual events and collectively formed perceptions. Was Jin really surprised? Or is his facial expression just an overinterpretation of a certain camera angle? And furthermore, did ARMY actually voice Bang Si-Hyuk's name in unison? Or did the voice just emerge from a small part of the audience and then be emotionally magnified by the media and the online community? The fact that this information is widely circulated through platforms such as TikTok, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, and other alternative media is a serious warning to anyone trying to understand the reality behind the scenes of the South Korean entertainment industry. On the one hand, these platforms have indeed opened up access to information instantly and democratically. But on the other hand, they also accelerate the process of forming public opinion without adequate verification. Are we, as spectators and fans, being victims of the algorithms that shape the truth of the viral version? A number of videos that claim to show the moment when Jin fell silent suddenly after Bang PD's name was cheered are circulating. However, the varying audio quality, varying shooting angles, as well as pieces of video that are not intact should make us ask, how likely is it that the moment has been manipulated or overinterpreted to create a dramatic impression? Let's take a closer look. Why is this kind of information so easy to believe and so fast to spread? Was it because there was a tension that had been accumulating inside ARMY's own body, related to how Jin was treated by his agency? Or is it because Bang Si-Hyuk's name has become a symbol of a system that is considered not always fair to its artists? In other words, does the virality of this moment reflect reality? Or does it instead reflect a collective expectation that has been looking for its channel for a long time? We are not alleging that this information is entirely untrue. Yet we also can't allow ourselves to get caught up in a one-sided narrative that is forming so quickly and can barely be stopped. We must ask, who benefits from the spread of this issue? Is this purely the voice of a caring fan? Or is there a certain communication strategy from the agency or media that indirectly increases public tension for the sake of market attention? More than that, is it possible that this is part of an opinion game deliberately played to test the market's reaction to Jin's solo project? Because in a highly structured entertainment industry like K-pop, nothing really just happens. A lot of things are planned, or at least utilized very meticulously by those who understand how to shape public perception. As consumers of information as well as ardent supporters, the ARMY has a great moral responsibility. Loving Jin, supporting his career, and fighting for justice for himself does not mean that we should believe every narrative that comes up without question. True loyalty must be based on a critical understanding of every piece of information we receive. Is it true that Jin feels unsupported by management? Was Bang's Si-Hyuk physically present at the concert? And if so, is it a form of support or simply business observation? We must understand that social media today is no longer just a means of communication, but a field of contestation of influence. In it, various agendas, whether from fan sites, agencies, independent media, or the platform's own algorithms, compete with each other to form what we call the truth. Therefore, if we do not question the narrative that emerges, we are not showing love to the artist, but rather being part of a sensationalism machine that can hurt them. The information we present in this article comes from a compilation of various open sources, fan videos on TikTok and YouTube, pieces of transcripts from community platforms such as Twitter/X and Weverse, as well as direct observations from semi-professional media that share documentation. However, we expressly state that the verification of all this information is open to debate. Not all sources can be ascertained for accuracy or context. This is why a skeptical and reflective attitude is absolutely necessary when addressing the development of this issue. In conclusion, we would like to invite you readers to become not only consumers of news, but also actors of critical reflection. Do you think this moment is an authentic event that holds a strong message from ARMY to management? Or is this just one example of how the power of virality is able to blur the distinction between fact and interpretation? Are we building a false narrative just because we share without understanding the context? And finally, are you ready to accept the possibility that what we consider to be supporting evidence could be the result of unintentional perceptual fabrications, but still have a huge impact? We only convey what is visible. But the real truth lies not in what is shared, but in how we choose to understand and criticize it. Continue to support honest and balanced content. And to get exclusive coverage around BTS's Jin and other K-pop world dynamics, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next important update. Thank you for the attention, and let's continue to learn to be smart, critical, and responsible fans.